that could take us right to the linebackers in the safeties room and answer this question from L Boogie. If you guys have
Yeah.
any questions, make sure you put them in the chat so Brian and I can get to them as we see them. I'm not seeing much coverage on the safety and linebacker rooms. Brian just mentioned the safety rooms. I like to go over a few of the guys who I liked coming in, and I think they're doing well at practice, and that's R.J. Johnson and Savion Riley.
Hmm.
I like those two guys and their background coming in from the SEC schools. Bigger safeties back there, over 6 feet, 200 pounds, can really hit and cover, has some speed to cover. I worry about whether how agile they are. We'll have to see that. But Riley had produced in the SEC at Vanderbilt. So I'm excited to see him on the field this year. Cameron Silmon-Craig, of course, like you said, moving back to a position that
Hmm.
he's more comfortable at, more off the ball, and with everything in front of him instead of playing things behind him. Carter Stockmeyer is going to be he's going to be the wild card back there,
Yep.
or the if he pops off and can really play, if he's any like spec of how they have him on the video game with the 90 plus speed and the agility, they got him crazy fast on the video game. If he's back there and can show those coverage skills from the cornerback, foundation that he has. If he
Yeah.
can show that at the safety spot, that's going to bring value and great addition to that defensive backfield for the Buffs.
And let's not forget, I mean, Carter for a time last year got in and played corner and looked pretty good,
Yeah,
early on before he had a little injury. So, we know he can cover. And I like him back there as well. Cameron Silmon-Craig, the other day when I talked to him, I asked him, I said, is there anybody that's doesn't get a lot of attention that's really standing out to you? And he thought about it for a second. He goes, Savion Riley is the guy that I think has had
mm,
a really good camp. And, so he pointed out what you're talking about, Chico, that, Savion doesn't get talked about a lot because I think we kind of assume it's going to be Cam Silmon-Craig and Shilo Sanders, which it probably will be. But, when you've got somebody like Savion that could come in and do it, I think that you're going to rotate in a little bit. And, we're already seeing, Shiloh's been a little banged up, right? And Cam Silmon-Craig, I mean, could probably use a breather every now and then. So you're probably
yeah.
going to need that third, maybe even a fourth safety. So it's nice to hear positive things out of somebody other than who we project as the starters. And we are hearing good things about Savion. Carter was banged up a little bit early in camp. Looks like he's back and doing some things. So you like to hear that. And so I think the safety group overall is probably better. I still miss Trevor back there, but I'm excited to see him at linebacker. And it's hard to argue with Shilo and Cam.
And here's the thing about that and about the depth back there that we have. We named what 5 safeties in Shiloh, Cameron Silmon-Craig, R.J. Johnson, and Savion Riley. We didn't even name a guy who I'm and Carter Stockmeyer, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even name a guy who I might be even just as excited about because I know his past from Jackson State and he played a year at Idaho State, but he's from San Diego, a highly touted guy coming out of high school, Lincoln High School out there. And that's Herman Smith the third.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
linebacker type body as far as physicalness, but can cover back there in the defensive backfield. Comes up with big hits also. Somehow, some way, which would be crazy to say. I think we'll see somehow all of those guys play some this season. But of course, you're going to hear their names called a lot on special teams because that's where you see a lot of your safeties at, whether it's kickoff, punt
Yeah.
team, punt return, whatever. You're going to see safeties there. So, but the main guys on defense, I think, will be Shiloh, Cameron Silmon-Craig,
Mm-hmm.
Savion Riley, and then Carter Stockmeyer will be the first 4, I think. R.J. Johnson, and then Smith. Man, it's going to be hard to
Well,
keep Herman Smith the third off the field, and that's what I'm thinking.
there's another guy too that
Big Ben Finisef.
there's big, yeah, him too. But there's another
Ben,
guy
like,
that
what about me, man? I got you, Big Ben.
and Ben can play, and Ben's a great guy. But
Yeah.
another guy that we haven't even mentioned yet, and he's a guy I've always been curious about, and we don't see him a lot in the videos, other than pumping up the team a lot, was Travis J.
Travis J.
And that's the
Travis
guy
J.
that
Dang, man.
he got playing time at Florida State. I mean, this is not a scrub, right? This is a guy that
Nah,
played
man.
at Florida State. He's a big guy, big safety. He's clearly, somewhat of a leader and a popular guy on the team. We haven't seen him pop off on videos yet, so I kind of wonder what his status is, but I don't think he's a guy you can forget. I just don't know
You're exactly
where he
right.
fits in that rotation. You know.
You're exactly right. I don't know whether it's going to be situational, short yardage, goal line, or whatever you
Yeah.
can use Travis J in. Uh, I hope he's 110% back from his injuries. But watching him at Florida State, I know he's one of those guys you could put there like in the nickel position,
Yeah.
and third and short, or even third and eight or whatever, and he can produce. Kind of like what Miles Slusher did last year. In that
Mhm.
first couple games, whatever he played in, making plays in those flat areas, Travis J could really bring that. And if he's healthy, he's sitting back there in the spot like, yep, they still forgetting about me. They're still forgetting about me. And hopefully, he can make some noise, in the next couple weeks and before the game time, and we'll see him on the field. But
And honestly, he's a guy I don't know if we'll see him this year because of how deep they are. But he's a guy that I don't think you can just shove aside and say, yeah, he's not a factor. I think that he may not be, but I think he could be.
Well, that's the good thing about this year, that we're talking about 6, 7 deep at 1, 2 positions,
Yep.
and we're trying to find out who's going to really play, and we're getting all the way down to this Travis J, and we're like, he can play, he
Yeah.
can play, So uh, great problem to have for Colorado. That goes back to the job I think the recruiting team has done so far, being there with Coach Prime. Shout out to Corey Phillips, Darian Box, my two young ladies, and Coach Riz, and everybody else in that office and doing their thing. One shout out. Oh, got to give a shout when you say recruiting with Colorado. You got to give a shout out to E. Dewey Smith too, Pastor Smith. Shout out
Right.
to you too, man, because we just named 4 of your boys, Colton Hood, at the cornerback spot, which we'll get to. Brandon Hood at running back, looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Hood, the walk-on linebacker. R.J. Johnson is related to him, and Big Zach Owens all went to the same high school, and they played against Michael Welch. So all
Right.
of those guys know each other from
Yeah.
out there in Georgia. So hey, if we could continue to pull talent like that, then I like that. Great job,
Yeah.
Coach
Hey,
Prime.
real quick, I see Charles make a comment. Yeah, Ian Massey.
Ian
Um,
Matt,
I know
Lord Jesus, we forgot about
he
my dog Ian Massey.
and he's a walk-on addition, but and didn't play a ton at Oregon State, but he's a guy that came from a Power 5 school, right? And so
Yes.
you can't totally forget him either. And so this depth we're talking about, and we can use this to transition to linebacker if you want, but this depth we're talking about is why they can move Trevor Woods to linebacker.
Can I do
Because
this? Okay,
yeah,
okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, go
This
ahead.
depth, like you said, why they can move Trevor Woods to linebacker, and go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say that I think that's why you can move Trevor, because they're so deep at safety. It's like, yeah, we like Trevor there, but we don't need him there because we have these other guys. We might need him more at linebacker.
Yeah, exactly right. I have this queued up already, just in this program, so I can show maybe like a 10-second clip of Ian Massey highlights from Oregon State practice, actually. So here we go. Coming up, hidden right there in the box, in the alley right there. He's wearing number 18, I think. Boom, there he is. Wham, coming up, showing physicalness at the line of scrimmage.
You like to see that?
I love to see that. Then if you can do that, but also combine it with this, showing that range right here, getting from the hashes all the way over to the outside of the numbers, going up, making a play, being aggressive on the ball. Would love
Yeah.
to see that back there at a safety spot for a
And
senior.
see, these are guys, Chico, that we talk about that they may not be starters, and maybe an Ian Massey gets 20 plays throughout the year, but he's a guy that can make good on those 20 plays, right?
Right.
Or 50 plays, whatever it is. Maybe he needs a spot start. You can look at him and say, all right, we're okay back there because he can play.
And we saw how Rod Ward came in later on in the season and made plays after
Yeah, I
not
mean,
getting the opportunity earlier.
and Ward became a sort of an every week starter towards the second half of the year. So
Yeah.
he was a guy that wasn't a factor early on in the year, but I put guys like Massey and Travis J in this category of don't forget these guys. They may not see a ton of the field, but you can't forget guys like this.
Right. Boom, getting up, making. So you see that athletic ability from him. So just another, great addition, I think, Bow. You already know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe, comment, all the other good stuff. It's the biggest dog Chico to the C and the place to be, the BIW, the DOW. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow me on all social media. We're going to be up in about the same piece in the Middle East. Yeah.